Living Leesburg. Our theme for this year is Living Everyday Wonder. And our theme for the month of February is Inner Life. The title of our talk today is The Ultimate Fear Buster. And I don't know about you, but that sounds really good to me. It will be given by our guest speaker, Melinda Jacobs. We're so glad that you joined us here today. We invite you to sit back, get comfortable, relax in this moment, stay in the now, and we will begin our service. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be a service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly, and so it is.
Waiting for me, waiting for me in the quiet and stillness, waiting for me, holding a high watch ever at ease. Love will always be waiting for me. When I get discouraged or distracted by the stories life keeps telling me, when I get so worried or gets blurry and I forget who I am, love is waiting, waiting for me, waiting for me in the quiet and stillness, waiting for me, holding a high watch ever at ease. Love will always be waiting for me, even on the days when all feels lost. There at the crossroads, love is beckoning. If I take a moment to decide, let my heart guide, I find you there, waiting.
How beautiful. What a great way to kick things off today. And now I'd like to tell you a little bit about our guest speaker, Melinda Jacobs. She is a ministerial student. She's also a religious science practitioner. She's an international intuitive coach, a clinical hypnotherapist, a speaker, a teacher, and an author. And my only question is, when do you sleep, Melinda? So I'd like to say a big welcome to Melinda. And she will now lead us into our meditation.
Thanks, Tamara. Oh, good morning, beloved CSL Leesburg community. It's so wonderful being here with you. I just want to invite you to drop in, close your eyes if that's comfortable. And as Leah said, love is waiting for us. And so as we get still, as we come into the breath, taking a rich breath in, exhaling, and at the bottom of the breath, push a little more air out to make more room for that fresh, new air. Exhale, just feeling the body resting into this space, into this moment. Love is right here, waiting for us. Closer than the breath. And just allowing that gentle rhythm of in and out, like the ocean waves, to flow. Drawing you in even more deeply. Exhaling like sand through the hourglass, allowing your energy to settle and coalesce and gather here into this now moment. As we bring our attention inward, you may notice different layers of awareness, different layers of feelings, different layers of sensations. You could imagine yourself moving through each one of those. And as you pass each layer of your own being, of your own humanity, closer and closer we become to that inner divine spark. It is here at the center of our being that love is waiting for us. And as you breathe, allowing that inner light, that inner love, begin to fill every cell of your being. You can imagine that inner light, that inner love just filling, moving through muscles and bones and fluids, spilling over into your emotional body, your mental body. And you could imagine this love beginning to expand beyond you to fill the room. Like ripples in a calm water, and seeing those ripples of love radiating out into your community. Expanding this love, this light out across the entire country. And beyond our country and enveloping the entirety of the world. because this inner spark, this inner light, this inner love is present in every being, in every situation, despite all appearances. And we rest in this love, we rest in this light. We hold the world in our mind and our hearts in this love, for it is waiting for us all. And just noticing in your mind's eye as this love, this light ripples out. Imagining every heart waking up to the love within, to the divine within, to the connection that we are all one. You could imagine a ripple, a shockwave of love, of awakening, rippling through the entire world, through all of humanity. Love is waiting for us in this moment, right where we are. So bringing your attention back now, back into this space, back into this moment, coming back to yourself. Another deep breath in and exhaling. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. Good morning, everyone. So I'm like to bring Leah back in to take us into another song.
I love you, sky. I love you, moon. I love you, sunshine. You're always gone too soon. I'm coming around once again, so I can say once again how I love you. I love you, laughter. I love you, change. I'm learning to say I appreciate you, pain. When you come around once again, I'll try to say once again how I love you, for all that you're giving for free. All of this living is happening in me. I love you, sky. I love you, stars. And I still wonder exactly what you are. The night when you rise once again, I'll try to sing once again, 'cause I love you every now and again. I got to say it again. Life, I love you.
Thank you, Leah. That was so beautiful. So welcome, everybody. So through this month, we've been in the theme of the inner life. And through this month, we've been exploring what it means, what this inner life is. And so in our first week, we were invited to see God in ourselves. And I especially liked the part of Charlene's talk when she was remembering a teaching from Michael Beckwith, who said, in the midst of the chaos, to get still, don't move. And Charlene's response was so perfect, and I really identified with it, that when we move out of fear, those aren't going to be the right moves for us. And I think that we can all look back through our lives, see times when we allowed fear to drive our decision making. And maybe like me, you've had some challenging fallout from those fear-based decisions. So we get to recognize the divine, intelligent, creative power that's in every one of us. We get to understand that we're part of and one with the infinite creative force that's in, through, and around all things. So in week 2, we paused and we looked for and we found the cause, recognizing that the cause is our thoughts. What we're thinking as individuals and even collectively, those thoughts act as seeds planted in very fertile soil, and our thoughts move the universe. Our thoughts spark the creative force to bring things into form. Charlene spoke about really taking note when we're blaming or saying something's happening to me. And I think that's such an important thing to look for, because we all hold a little bit of that victim perspective from time to time. And I feel it's really important to understand that some things that happen are a result not of our individual thoughts, but our collective thoughts. And so, of course, obviously, you wouldn't wake up one morning and think, today's just a great day to have a flat tire. No, and that's not how that works. However, upon receiving the flat tire, we as practitioners of new thought could refrain from that thought of, why is this happening to me? That's that victim perspective. And instead, through practice, through study, through understanding, we get to take responsibility for our experiences, and we get to have that compassionate reflection within. We get to look at our thoughts and our feelings and look for what might have contributed to this experience, not in a victim blaming kind of way. Why is this happening to me? Just more of a curiosity. Maybe there's a deep worry of being stranded that surpasses, this moment, this last week or this last month. Maybe that's something that's been there all along. Or a belief that bad things always happen to me. It's these types of fears, these types of beliefs that move the universe and could potentially present you with the opportunity of a flat tire. And these opportunities, they support us in finding those deeper beliefs, those patterns of fear, those patterns of worry. I appreciate a number of years ago, a practitioner saying this statement. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, wow, that's me. Worry is a form of prayer. Worry is a form of prayer. So we get to take pause. We get to take inventory of what we're thinking, what we're fearing, what we're worrying and believing, to better understand what's playing into how our lives are unfolding. And then last week, we touched on forgiveness, and not to forgive, but never forget, that kind that Charlene talked about. She really beautifully demonstrated that, the radical forgiveness kind of forgiveness that turns that victim energy, that victim perspective, into things are happening to me from things are happening to me to things are happening for me. And so now this week, our theme, the ultimate fear buster. So let's have the conversation. Let's talk about fear. I've heard it said that fear is the opposite of love. And coming from a little bit of a science background and getting a little geeky on physics, I'd like to offer a very different perspective. I believe that love is a singularity. Much like our teaching says that all there is only source or spirit or the divine or whatever, or however you relate to that awareness, that creative power that's all around us. I like to call it spirit. And it moves through all things. So this idea that there's only light, that there is no dark, there's just the absence of light. Dark is not the opposite of light. It's what happens when light is not present. And I'm inviting you to consider that maybe fear is what remains when we take away love. A few weeks ago, Charlene talked about finding the cause. And the teaching of Science of Mind talks about cause and effect and traces cause back to our thoughts. Years ago, lifetimes ago, careers ago, I was a body worker and doing massage. And one of my teachers at the very beginning of my training said this: before there was a chair, there was the thought of a chair. And that just made such good sense to me, that thought happens first. Nothing that we can see or touch or experience exists without a thought happening first. So thought is the cause, and the effect comes next. Fear is the effect of thoughts that are not based in truth. Our thoughts are the cause of our fear, not the circumstances, not the situations, our thoughts. I want you to really take that in for a minute. Because when we feel fear present within ourselves, like Michael Beckwith suggested, we get still. We don't move. We ask ourselves, what am I thinking that is causing this fear? And sometimes those thoughts are so deep that they're not even within our conscious awareness. What is within our conscious awareness is the fear itself. It's like, oh, I feel very scared. Oh, what's going on? This teaching is asking us to pause, to stop, to not move, to get curious, and to remember that underneath every feeling is a thought. So we get to cultivate our faith to keep us anchored in truth, that there is only spirit, that there's nothing that opposes it. Fear shows up when we forget the truth of our being, that we're part of the one divine presence, and there's nothing outside of this fear, outside of this divine presence. Fear shows up when our thoughts run amok. It's been said that there's only two emotions, love and fear. Love is divine. It's the activity of spirit itself. Fear, on the other hand, is founded on the belief that we are separate from God and separate from each other. We can put aside inner fear by loving it. I'll just say that again. We can absolutely put our fear aside when we love it. To love the fear, we must call on the power and the presence of spirit into our lives or into the situation, and allow this presence to dissolve and transmute that fear. The moment we realize that we're in the midst of fear, we must not struggle to get away from it. And yet that's the thing we try to do the most, right? Instead, we must relax and declare the truth, remembering that the truth absolutely sets us free. So there's a phrase that we can say in the midst of the fear rising: wherever I am, there is spirit. Say it with me. Wherever I am, there is spirit. And in the moment that we affirm that truth, fear begins to vanish. So I'm a very kinesthetic learner, which means I learn best through touching, through doing the thing I'm learning. So I have this little tool on my desk, and this helps me to learn how not to struggle, how not try to pull away, but how to relax, how to lean in. So this is a finger trap, and you put your fingers in, and when you pull away really fast, it tightens down and it traps your fingers. And so this reminds me of how to be when I go sideways, when fear starts to show up in my space. I do not struggle. I do not pull away from it. I relax and I lean in. And I remember that the divine is right here with me, and easy peasy, out it comes. So I'm going to share this next passage with you about love. Love is the nature of the universe. Love has no opposites. Again, that idea that it's a singularity. The absence of it is where fear shows up. The essence of love is neutrality, impartiality, and its essential characteristic is that it does not generate resistance to anything. None of this, no tightening, no resistance. It does not generate tension. It flows freely, allowing all the diversity of creation to interact and maintain its original essence. Love is about unconditionality, which leaves those who love in complete freedom. And I don't know about you, but when that word starts coming around, unconditional love, I start to trip up. I don't know that I actually know what that feels like. Well, when my cat comes around and he looks at me with those eyes and he likes to be spooned, I can feel my heart just burst open. Okay, it's pretty easy to feel that free-flowing love with an animal, with a pet. And maybe there's a moment in your life where you can remember just your heart bursting open, like, oh, just so in love. Or watching nature in the sunset. Super easy to access that big heart-opening love. And then there's life and the news, and there's frustrations and things that are going against what we think it should be or how we want to feel. So I find this idea of unconditional love pretty challenging. And I'm going to offer just a slightly different perspective. And this comes from an excerpt in a book called One Mind, a psychiatrist's spiritual teachings by Dr. Thomas Hora. And this is a passage from one of the lectures. It's just a collection of lectures, and Dr. Hora is speaking with his students. So he starts by saying, you need to know metapsychiatry to know perfect love. We are blessed with a certain definition of love, which makes divine love accessible, even to human comprehension. So he's speaking to this unconditional love being a little challenging. And he asks his students, do we all know what this definition of perfect love is? And one student responds, it's non-personal, non-conditional benevolence. Dr. Hora says that's right. Translated into human language, perfect love is non-personal, non-conditional benevolence. And he goes on to talk about a young lady from a Jewish family who once came to him, and she was raving about her father, how he has loved her all her life, how he's the best father anybody could ever have. He's just God in my life, she says. He loves me so much that he does everything for me, and he always did, except I'm not allowed to marry a Christian. She says I must marry a Jewish boy, and I can't find a Jewish boy, but I have a Christian boyfriend. Dr. Horace says that parental love is mostly conditional. Therefore, it's a troublemaker. A student replies, I've seen fathers who so loved their children that if they married out of the faith, they would disown them and pretend that they were dead. That's love? And Dr. Horace says that is conditional love. And sometimes there's even more absurd conditions. Human love is conditional. Divine love is unconditional. And enlightened human love is non-conditional. I'll say that again, because that to me was boom, just blew my mind apart. Human love is conditional. We live in the world of conditions. Divine love is unconditional. And what we can shoot for as humans is enlightened human love being non-conditional. It says that I love you just the way you are. I make no conditions. You don't have to like spinach. You don't have to wear your hair a certain way. You don't have to follow a particular set of beliefs. Conditional love is more harmful than neglect, Dr. Horace says. If we're loved conditionally, it enslaves us. Conditional love is disabling. Non-conditional love is empowering. So we can take this lesson from Dr. Hora. We can begin to practice that enlightened human love, non-conditional love. And let's start with ourselves. Because when we aim that non-conditional love at our own fear, it might sound something like this. I love myself even though. I love myself even though my biases have me in a state of stepping back or shutting down. I love myself even though my body looks other than I would want it. I love myself even though I have habits that I would like to change. And then we can start aiming it outside of us. We can extend it to the people around us. I love you even though you're doing that. I love you even though you believe X, Y, and Z. I love you even though you're affiliated with a group of individuals and ideas that I don't understand. I love you even though allows ourselves to open into love, even in the midst of fear and confusion and separation. See, my mind understands these big concepts. Spirit is all there is. Love heals all things. But then I bump into my own humanity. And my own humanity has grabbed on to some distorted ideas, some false beliefs about myself. Parts of me are still healing through past wounds. Parts of me are still caught up in the idea of separation. So I can remember to lean in rather than pull away from it. I can lean into the places where fear is living. And I can practice that loving even though, and ultimately take steps that are closer to that place of truth, that there is nothing than the divine presence. There is nothing that opposes it, that it is truly all that's moving in, through, and around all beings and all people. I'd like to close with an excerpt from Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. Creative living beyond fear. I love how the universe works. A client sent this to me last week. And I thought, oh, how perfect, because I'm talking about fear busting. And when we think about leaning in and loving the parts of us that are in fear, I love how she speaks to her fear in this letter. And maybe you might want to adopt this kind of approach. So this is her letter. Dearest Fear, Creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together. I understand you'll be joining us because you always do. I acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do in my life, that you take your job seriously. Apparently, your job is to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting. And may I say, you are superb at your job. So by all means, keep doing your job if you feel you must. But I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. And creativity will be doing its job, which is to remain stimulating and inspiring. There is plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us. So make yourself at home. But understand this. Creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognize and respect that you are part of this family. So I will never exclude you from our activities, but still, your suggestions will never be followed. You're allowed to have a seat and you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You're not allowed to touch the roadmaps. You're not allowed to suggest detours. You're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. Dude, you're not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my dear old familiar friend, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. Then we head off together, me and creativity and fear, side by side forever, advancing once more into the terrifying but marvelous terrain of unknown outcome. And so, my beloveds, we get to learn to love ourselves non-conditionally, even though we get to recognize when we're in our trap of trying to pull away. We get to lean in. We get to extend love into those places to free us from our fear. We get to learn to control these creative thoughts. We get to choose to see one truth of our being, that there is one spirit, and we are all unique expressions of that divine dance of life. Truly, this inner life is the life of the divine. It is a perfect life. It's my life now. It's your life now. And with that, let's move into prayer. So coming back into where love is waiting for us, back into that place where different parts of us are living out and expressing in ways that are in alignment with truth and ways that are maybe not. And so in this moment, I recognize that divine presence, that divine spark, that divine life that is me. Even though there are places within me that are not fully aware, fully awakened, I know in this moment that that divine presence is moving the universe for me, for everyone. I know that there is absolutely no separation, like a wave peeking out of the ocean and moving back in. We are just that in our divine dance, that we are coming out of that wholeness into our own unique form, so that the divine can have its experience as a Melinda, as a Charlene, as a CSL community, as countries, in conflict, in peace, always finding its way back to itself. And so in this moment, I just know and affirm that there is only love, that there is only spirit, that my conscious mind, the limiting way that my mind works, can't even begin to comprehend the magnificence, the vastness of what I am part of. And I know it is powerful. I know it is creative. I know it is my responsibility to take hold of the thoughts, the creative seeds that I am planting into the universe, because I know the universe responds to every thought. And so I rest now in love. I remember that love is what's waiting for me, for every being. I recognize and affirm the power of my observation that when I see love in others, when I see others as the divine, that brings healing to this chasm between separation and truth, between fear and love. And in this moment, by the power of my word, I affirm that there is love in every being. I know this in this moment. And where there is love, there is peace. And when there is peace, there is expansion. And there is an exploding of the divinity of light through all things, through all people, and through all situations. And for this beloved community of the CSL in Leesburg, I am just knowing that they are held in love. That whatever place within them where that fear may be living, I know there is a light that can extinguish that. There is a love that can dissolve that. And as our hearts open to this deepened truth, as our hearts remember the truth of our being, we become the beacons of light, the beacons of love, the beacons of truth. And I know that ripples out with every breath. And for all of this, and so much more good that is coming into our lives in this moment, in every moment, I am so grateful. And so with absolute peace, assurance, gratitude, and love, I just allow these words to land into the universe, into that fertile soil of the creative medium that brings them forward, that brings them into form. And I sit with peaceful, patient expectation, for that is how the law works. So I just allow it to be. And we can all affirm by saying, and so it is.
And so it is. And I thank you so much, Melinda, for every element of your sharing, and specifically for reminding me that I downloaded that book onto my Audible yesterday. So thank you so much. That Elizabeth Gilbert book. Thank you for the reminder of that and of the nature of love. The refrain of this song is super simple, so I hope you'll sing it with me. As soon as you hear it, as soon as things start to repeat, then jump right in and sing with me. Here come that voice trying to turn me around. Here come the noise trying to break me down. But I got my roots deep in the sacred ground, and I choose love. 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 Here come that grief trying to break my pride. Here come false beliefs trying to shake my stride. But I own my truth and I release the lies. I choose love. Sing it with me, y'all. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. choose love. I 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 choose love.
Oh, thank you so much, Melinda. My goodness. Thank you so much, Leah. I don't know about you guys, but there's so many things from today's message and music that just filled my heart up. Can't wait for pearls after service. Now it's time to bless the donations that are shared with us today. At CSL Leesburg, we believe in the law of circulation, so we are a tithing community. The donations shared with our center bless everyone, those who give and those who receive. As you can see on the screen, there's so many ways that you can give. It's really easy to find a way that works for you. No matter how you're giving, just take that, place it over your heart. It might be physically, it might be just mentally, and join me in our affirmation of oneness as we bless the gifts that are given. And we'll go to that slide so that you can follow along. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I touch, tends to heal. Blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I'm a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. Now, let's move on to announcements. So we have so many things going on. We want to welcome our two new board members. Erin Johnson, who I believe is having a birthday today, is going to be joining our board as our secretary. Hooray, Erin, thank you so much. And Layla is going to be joining us as our member at large, focusing on hospitality and membership outreach. Yay, Layla, so glad to have you folks joining our board. And next, you want to come back again if you like what you heard today and join us during the week on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Join Charlene and her friends as they explore their dreams in our dream study. And this is always a popular session. It's fun to get together and share your dreams and interpret them. And sometimes you just need somebody else to see some of the little messages that you're getting while you sleep and dream. And then on Wednesday evenings, we dive a little deeper. You already heard me mention pearls. So after service, we always share what are those little nuggets, those gems, those jewels that you heard from today's service that really resonated with your spirit. On Wednesdays, we get together midweek because we've been like toying with these messages, these ideas for a couple days now. And we share, we dive a little deeper for the pearls. We share with one another what have we been taking into our daily practice that we learned from this Sunday's message. What are we doing to change our lives? What are we doing when fear starts trying to crawl into the front seat of our car and take over the radio and take over the controls and tell us to take that turn? What are we doing to fight against that and push fear into the back seat where it belongs? So we get together, we share. It's always great time. We share book ideas, we share movies that we've been watching, anything that enhances our spiritual journey. So join us on Wednesday evening at 7 if you are able. Oh my goodness gracious. So quickly we come to our closing for today. We thank you so much for joining us. Now let's do our closing affirmation. Put your hands over your heart. Just give yourself a big old hug. Remember what Melinda told us. It all just starts with the unconditional love that you give yourself. So join me as we say, I am love.
I am love.
Thank you so much. You know, I love hearing you. Now look at somebody in the room with you, or just look at the screen at the others, or look down at a furry friend who's with you, whoever you want to. Just imagine that you are sending them love, and join me with saying, You are
You
love.
are love.
You are love.
Nice. Now, guys, we know this is especially important. Let's just send a whole tsunami of love out there into the world. Put your hands up in the air. It's all
All
love.
love.
All love.
All love.
Goodness. I felt that. I really felt that. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. If you can, please stay and join us. We're going to share our pearls. I know there's going to be so much that we want to talk about. And if you can't stay, we just send you off with our blessings and with our love. Thank you.